Today, I want to review an article. The other day I was on LinkedIn and I saw somebody share an article called 3 Mistakes You Could Be Making During Collection Process. Now, I'm not going to link it anywhere because I don't know if anyone's going to be upset or anything like that. If you want to, you could link it in the comment section below. That'd be fine with me. I'm not going to delete it, but I'm not going to put a link to it. Anyway, so the article talked about those 3 mistakes people could be making when collecting data. And I thought some of the points that they talked about could use a little bit more elaborating on. So that's what I want to do in this article. Mention the 3 items that they talked about, as well as add to it what I think about those individual mistakes. So item number 1 they were talking about is you shouldn't copy files using drag and drop or with copy and paste. And the example they gave is just go to your computer, find the file, make a copy of it, and look at the date created. And you'll see how it's been changed from the original date when the file was created to when you made a copy. Now, I completely agree that you should not be doing collection using copy and paste or drag and drop on any of those things. However, that date created isn't as important as some people think it is. It is certainly important during an investigation when you're trying to piece some kind of history, somebody modifying things, but during normal process, date created barely even makes it on anyone's radar. Why? Let me explain. Now, this is something I talked about a little while ago, and it deals with internal metadata versus external metadata. There is metadata that's been written by the application that's created the file, like for example a Word document, and it's stored inside the file. And there's also metadata, which is that date created, that's been stored at the file system level, written by operating system. Now, whenever you process data, the internal metadata overrides the file system metadata. So if this is an Office document or a PDF file, that date created would be discarded and thrown away, and no one would even know that it's been modified because the internal metadata would have been used. However, if this is a text file or some other file that doesn't have internal metadata, then yes, that metadata would be incorrect. But again, when we're trying to build a sort date or primary date field, date created becomes a second priority to the date last modified. So the main date of the file would be the one from last modifying, and it wouldn't have been changed by copying and pasting it. So the point is, I don't think it's a big deal if someone makes a copy and paste if it's not a forensic investigation. But yes, I totally agree with the article. You should not be using copy and paste and drag and drop to collect your data. And the second point in the article was you should not be using Outlook to search for content of PSTs, and you shouldn't be drag and dropping content from PST to your desktop or somewhere else in the file system. The reason was if you're searching in Outlook, well, the technology that's used in there isn't as good as in ediscovery software, so you will not be able to get really good search term results, and your search could be basically invalid because attachments may not be indexed and so on. And the reason why they said that you shouldn't be drag and dropping things out is you will lose folder information where the emails were stored. Now, I'll agree that you should not do both of those things. You should not be using Outlook for searching, and you should not be drag and dropping things out. However, there are times when you could use Outlook to do searching. For example, you're not running the generic search terms, but you're looking for something specific. Let's say a sales team manager would send the quarterly reports by email, and you need to find them. Well, you open a PST, you type quarterly reports because you know that was the subject of an email. You look at them and you see the 3-year period when you have all the quarterly reports. You look at them, nothing is missing, all the reports are there. Great, let's take them to the next step. I found what I need. Now, as far as drag and dropping, yes, it's always a good idea to preserve folder information so you know where data is coming from. I have been dealing with a lot of documents and a lot of emails from compliance systems, compliance archival systems. And that's when you have a separate email server that sits next to a real email server, and it intercepts all the copies of the emails that are coming in and out. I believe that's a requirement for some companies. So whenever I would get data from these compliance servers, the data there has no folder structure information, no custodian information, it has nothing. You get a PST file, it contains one folder that contains 10,000 emails, and that's it. And in my experience, this really hasn't been the problem. So while it is a good idea to preserve folder structure information if you can, it's not critical if it doesn't get preserved for whatever reason. Now, the third item on the article was you should not take screenshots of text messages if you have a text message collection situation where you need to get text messages from a phone. You need to use proper tools to acquire them and not just take a screenshot and use that. The reason was the screenshot could be manipulated, and if you have any pictures in there, their information could be, the GPS information could get lost, and your picture will be thrown out of court because it's missing any kind of GPS information as to where the picture was actually taken. Now, I completely agree with that. You should not be taking screenshots of text messages, and GPS metadata could be important. However, it really all depends on the situation. If you have a couple of messages that you need preserved, somebody send you, message 1, message 2, it all shows up on one screen. You can see it, you don't even have to scroll. Taking a screenshot is not a big deal. You don't have to involve all the forensics people, you don't need to collect the entire phone. You see there, here's the message that somebody's been harassing you. Done. Click, snapshot done, send the picture over. There is nothing else needs to be done. You've captured it how it is. If, on the other hand, you have to scroll, screenshot, scroll, screenshot, scroll, screenshot, that's a bad idea. You're gonna have tons and tons of pictures, and it's just gonna be a mess, and somebody's gonna have to go flip through them and figure out like if there are different conversations happening and so on. That is a terrible idea. Okay, let me jump in here for a quick second. I completely forgot to address a point of picture being manipulated by somebody. In my opinion, it is more difficult to manipulate the screenshot than it is to manipulate the text message in text format. So if you have a screenshot, you need to have some skills to do it. You have to know Photoshop or some other software. You have to go in and carefully splice things, move them, and then you also have to do a good job at it, because any tiny misalignment of things, it'll just jump out at viewer right away. So you have to do a really good job to make sure screenshot is manipulated properly. Now, it takes no skill to manipulate the actual text message. If you have a bunch of text messages in Excel or in text files, anyone can go in, type whatever they want, and they're done. So this is the area where I'm going to disagree. Screenshots are more difficult to manipulate, and they do look more authentic. And as far as GPS metadata, I'll answer here is it depends. Some users can choose to turn off writing of GPS information into their pictures for privacy reasons, and that's totally fine to do. There are other people who still use regular old-fashioned point-and-shoot cameras or even SLR cameras, and most of those don't have GPS built in, so those pictures will not GPS metadata included. And of course, we know that photos like that do not get thrown out of court. So yes, I'll agree that it is best not to take screenshots of text messages if possible, and of course it's a good idea to preserve GPS metadata if available, especially if it's relevant to the case. Anyway, let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me about my assessment, and I'll come back possibly with another article review in the future. Right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube. I'll see you next time.